What's going on, guys? Jesse from Defense Mechanisms here, and in today's video I just want to go over some simple ready and carry positions with the rifle. Let's first talk about what are carry and ready positions. A carry position is a position in which I can orient my muzzle to move in environments and around other people without muzzling myself or them. A ready position is a position in which I'm ready to take an action from. It's important to note that anytime I'm moving and I'm not definitively online with teammates or people, or I haven't created enough lateral distance from them, I need to be in a carry position. Once I've made that lateral distance or I've made myself definitively online, I can then start to incorporate those ready positions. Before we get into the ready and carry positions, let's first talk about ideal sling setup for a fighting rifle. So ideally for a fighting rifle, you're gonna want to use a 2-point sling. Again, through all of my training, tons of videos out there, you can just see a lot of problems with 1-point slings. And then you have all sorts of like the 3-point contraptions and stuff like that. A simplistic 2-point sling is going to be ideal for your fighting rifle. The ideal setup for that sling comes down to some personal preference, and then I'll show you later why it's important on some of these carry positions. For myself personally, I like very easy adjustment to be able to tighten and loosen into that. Obviously running it primarily in a necklace configuration. I like to use a 1-inch sling as it doesn't impede vision. It tends to work around kit a little bit better. And for me, I like to set this up at the furthest points of the gun possible. So opposite side of the stock here, and then all the way as far down as I can get it toward the muzzle here. So now that you've got your sling set up properly, let's start with a ready position that everyone's familiar with, and let's start with the on-target ready position. So the on-target is simply just mounting the rifle. Again, this allows me to use all of the tools on my gun. I can use sights, lights, lasers, and I can start to solve the problem from here, right? Now let's get into carry positions. Again, these are gonna be for movement when I'm not definitively online or haven't created enough lateral distance. So the first carry position, especially from an on-target position, is going to be low carry. And for low carry, I'm simply going to depress my muzzle, and I'm gonna have the orientation of my muzzle definitively down. So think stripper pole here, right? This allows me to move 360 degrees without muzzling myself or anybody else. It allows me to still use the spill off of my light to navigate to the placement where I've created enough lateral distance or I'm definitively online. Some common problems that we see with the low ready position, especially when guys start to put plate carriers with placards and stuff on them, is they want to like rest that buttstock against their chest, and then all that kit is starting to push out, right? Same thing if you're a little more tactically gifted here, got a little bit more of a gut, it tends to bring the orientation of that muzzle outward. And now you can see as I start to spin, I have the ability to flag my partner's legs, things like that. So we got to make sure that we're pushing that buttstock definitively out and away from us to make sure that we're clearing that kit. To get to the on-target position from a low ready or a low carry, we're simply going to bring that gun up, pressing the stock away so that we're clearing any kit, and then just bringing it back into the shoulder pocket, and we're back on target. All right, so the opposite of the low carry, if we can't point our muzzles down for some reason, we got teammates below us, is the high carry option. So from on target to high carry, I'm simply gonna orient that muzzle straight up and down. I'm going to lock the buttstock into my side with elbow, that way I have some rigidity, I have structure here, and then I'm gonna cant the magwell toward my face. And what that does is that's going to alleviate some of that sling being in my vision, right? A lot of times, especially if you have thicker than 1 inch, like 1.5 inches, it'll start to impair some of that vision, especially if you're starting to outboard the gun like this. Obviously, guns floating a little bit more here don't have as much structure, and also the sling starts to impede my vision. A way that I can rid that is, again, locking that buttstock into my side here, and then turning that magwell inboard. That's gonna help alleviate a lot of that sling out of my face. From the high carry position to get to on target, I'm simply gonna let that muzzle fall. Again, I'm going to push that buttstock away, clearing any kit, and then bring the buttstock right back into my shoulder pocket. All right, so for our carry positions, we have definitively down or definitively up. Now let's get into our ready positions. So from our ready positions, from the position of on target, we'll first talk about low ready. So for low ready from on target, I'm simply just going to depress that muzzle, get the sight, lights, laser, everything out of my eye line, right, and open up that vision. Understand that the distance to the target will determine the relation of that low ready position. So if I'm dealing with something very up close, that low ready will have to be much lower than if I'm dealing with something afar, then the muzzle will have to come up slightly. Again, the important part is I'm depressing that muzzle, I'm clearing up my vision and getting everything out to take in as much information as possible. So to get from a low ready position to an on target, I'm simply just bringing that gun up into my eye line, right? I can leave the buttstock in my shoulder as I depress, so I don't actually have to clear that kit like I do before in some of the other positions. So again, with low ready to on target, I'm simply just bringing the muzzle up and into my eye line. All right, so our next ready position is going to be high ready. So from on target to high ready, we're simply going to push that buttstock away from our shoulder, let that buttstock fall down to our belt line, right about where our pistol would be. Again, what I'm doing here is I'm looking over my muzzle device. I'm using that bottom part of the spill of my light to be able to identify hands, waistband, anything like that. And then from the position of high ready to on target, I'm simply going to, again, extend that buttstock away, making sure I can clear any of my kit, and then put that buttstock right back into my shoulder pocket, coming back on target. The next ready position we have is the position of retention. So from on target to the position of retention, I'm simply going to push the buttstock away, bring the buttstock under my arm, locking this pistol grip into my side, keeping the gun horizontal to the deck, right? What this will allow me to do is, this is a great rest position. If I need to hold a long hallway for a long period of time, I can do that very comfortably. If I need to action doors as a single man from here, it allows me use of that support hand. So I can also shoot from here. To be able to bring the gun back to on target from this position, I'm simply, again, going to push that buttstock away, bring it back into my shoulder pocket, and become back on target. All right, now let's go over a couple of our sling positions. So our first sling position is going to be the position of front sling. From a necklace orientation with the rifle, I'm simply going to swing my arm inside, controlling the front of the gun, and I'm gonna roll that gun away from me, ensuring that fire control is faced outboard and it can't get caught on any of my gear and start to work into that trigger. Again, this is why it's very important to set up your fighting rifles with non-ambi fire controls. This allows you to roll that fire control away from the body, makes it much safer. Again, what you can see with my sling orientation here, being at both ends, it really pins that gun flat, and it would do it even better if I had like a 30-round magazine in there. Pins it against the side. And what this allows is it doesn't allow the gun to just drop free in between your legs. That way, if I'm making movement, I'm transitioning to my sidearm, anything like that, this is actually out of the way and I can actually be athletic in motion. All too often, I'll see guys just drop it in between their legs and then it's battering, beating all around. And again, it has a potential, especially with an ambidextrous safety, to work that safety off, something to get into that trigger, and especially with these light AR triggers, just set the gun off. So again, to get to the position of on target, I'm simply going to bring the gun up. Now, if the immediate threat calls for it, right, I can just deal with whatever it is with my arm in, and then at the first possible opportunity, I'm gonna again swim back out of that sling. So again, from the position of on target, I'm going to swim that arm in, control the front of the gun, roll fire control away from me, and now I can transition to that sidearm, do whatever else I need to do. All right, now let's talk about our next sling position, which is the rear sling. So again, important note of the rear sling, I need to be working from this necklace orientation. If I have my arm into the sling here and I start to work to a rear sling position, all I'm gonna do is turn this into a very expensive hula hoop and watch my gun hit the ground. So again, from that necklace position, I want to take my hand off fire control. I am controlling the muzzle so I can get it definitively down. That way I'm not doing this like rainbow to come across other teammates. I'm transitioning the gun to my back, and then I'm rolling fire controls away from me once again, right? To ensure that nothing on my back, nothing else can, start to activate that safety or deactivate that safety. Anything can get in there and set the gun off. To get back to on target from rear sling, again, I'm gonna take my fire control hand. I'm going to control the muzzle, ensuring that it's definitively down, bring that gun around, and then the position, it just goes through that low ready, back to on target, right? So once again, from that sling orientation, I'm going to take fire control off the gun. I'm going to control the muzzle, making sure that it's definitively down. I'm going to spin it to my back, and then I'm gonna roll the gun away from me, ensuring that fire control is out of the way. Well, there it is, guys. There's some simple ready and carry positions with your rifle. Again, it feels like these should be self-explanatory, but all too often we get students in classes. There's plenty of video out there of people just flagging their buddies. So make sure that you are in a definitive carry position until you fought for your right to party and got online. Then we can start to incorporate these other ready positions. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you got any questions or concerns, reach out to us at contact@defensemechanisms.com. Be sure to follow us on all the socials, and we'll catch you in the next video.